right, good morning. So today we have Valerie Buss joining us from Homer, Alaska, and the owner-operator of Kachemak Keller Williams. Valerie, I wanted to, we really appreciate you taking some time here on your busy morning to chat with us. And we really want to dive in about what is kind of where you started, and then once you have joined up with GrowthWord, how that transition has been. Because we've been together now for about 6-ish months since last summer. And we've tackled some fun things, and we've had all kinds of different opportunities that have existed within that 6-month period, which thank you, first of all, for that blessing to be able to work with you. But tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey.
Yeah, so again, my name's Valerie. I'm from Homer, Alaska. I was born and raised in Homer and then moved to Anchorage for about 8 years. I've always been in real estate. I grew up in a real estate family, but on the investing side, and then didn't get into the sales side of it until about a little over, well, actually just right at 2 years. Now I got licensed in January of 2020 in Anchorage. Started out a brokerage there. With a partner, with a top producing agent who taught me a lot in a few weeks before everything shut down with COVID. And then during the beginning of 2020, I was introduced to the old owner of my company now, with the possibility to purchase the company in a few years. But then things quickly moved forward, and my husband and I ended up buying Kachemak. It was Kachemak Group Real Estate at the time, in September of 2020. So at that point, I had only been licensed 9 months, and then purchased a brokerage with 10 agents. At the time, it was the largest brokerage in Homer. I think we're neck and neck with another one right now, with changes. And so that was quite the challenge with learning how to sell on the personal side, and then also having 10 agents that I'm now responsible for and running a brokerage. And then November.
And that real quick, that's about the time I met you, Valerie, right? When you were down there.
Yes.
I had the opportunity to come to Homer and teach a class, and you were there, and I loved you. You just you soaked it up. And I thought, I was told you would be in the room, the owner of this group. And I thought, oh gosh, I wonder, there's two kinds of people in a class, right? There's the people that show up and won't get off their phones and they almost look annoyed to be there. And then there's the type of people that are feel like, and you were that person. You did not stop. It was awesome. And that's when I met you. And I think we talked the next week and we're like, gosh, do you have room for me in your world? And I'm like, of course. Yeah, well, definitely.
Yeah.
But at that point, when I met you that day, I had no idea, you'd barely been licensed. And here you were diving in, to buying a company. Opportunity shows up and you just took it. And to me, I was like, yeah, we want this girl in our world. We want this.
And that was the greatest class I've ever been to. I get bored easily. And normally that's the way I am with classes. It gets so dry after an hour, but I just remember sitting there. I'm like, I have to pee so bad, but I cannot get up because I can't miss a second of this. I have to be here.
And it was 6 hours. It was 6 hours. It was a long class. And then it was
over and I was not ready for it to be over. And I was like, okay, I need more of this in my life.
Cool. So keep going. I want to know 6 months, the last 6 months, what are the top 3 things, if you could pick 3 things that have been the best?
So the best would be, I've been licensed now 24 months total. From 2020 to 2021, I've increased my business by about 181%, which is crazy. And then another huge thing was our partnership with KW, and GrowthWord had a huge impact on that. That was one of the biggest reasons why, just being around those that are immersed in GrowthWord and KW. Also growing. I never thought that I would want to be a team leader, have my own team. I thought I would always just want to be an individual. I never thought I would buy a brokerage, and then that happened. So when I took on the brokerage, I'm like, I'm never going to have a team. I'm going to be too busy. But now Patrick has really helped me start to get into that. This year I've hired an admin, a transaction coordinator, and I have a virtual assistant. And right now I'm working on onboarding my buyer's agent, buyer specialist. So that's been huge as well. A lot of growth.
Wow.
In 6 months.
So my question is, Valerie, which I love your story. I really do. And it's been so cool to be arm in arm with you on this. And, typically growth isn't always easy. It's not, and what you're describing are layers of growth. How did you do it? Like, and that's, just being for real, right? Like, how did you do it? How did you keep going through these growth stages, yet keep that focus that you have?
Honestly, it's just kind of sink or swim. It's like I have so much, happening all at once. And it's like you just have to keep swimming. And if you stop, that's when everything's going to crumble. Luckily, I have a great support system with my husband. Definitely couldn't do all this without him. And also my parents. They've been a huge influence in my adult life as well as a child. So just having my family on my side is the biggest reason why I've been able to do all of this, and just knowing that I can do it and having confidence in myself, and believing in myself, which is challenging. There's definitely days where it's like, is all of this worth it? How am I going to do this? But yeah, it's just keep moving forward every day.
So this is an interesting question that I'm throwing at you, and I'm sorry, I do this sometimes. What's your favorite part about owning a brokerage? Like, it wasn't ever in your path until it fell in your lap. What's your favorite part so far?
I think the amount of growth and the amount of potential it has. There's so many different directions you can take it. And I think that's my favorite part. And then watching the agents within the company grow as well and see their change also is really cool. But to me, it's just the opportunities that come with it and where you can take it.
Leadership.
Yeah.
Leadership. So, okay, that's a lot. You've been through a lot. I want to talk about the next 6 months, or actually year. Like, where do you see, what would be a huge win for you in the next 12 months? Where are you and Patrick going to go? And what's the biggest challenge going to be to get there?
A huge win for me would be having a team that operates without me being in it day to day, doing all the details. That would be huge. Bryce and I are expecting a baby in the fall. And so it's kind of like, that would be great for me to be able to step away from the day to day, but still see my company and my team grow. That's the biggest thing for me.
What do you think? What are you going to need to do to get there? Do you know?
People.
Yeah.
Have the right people on my team. That's going to be the biggest thing. And coming up with systems in my business, like a playbooks, I should say, plural, and just systematizing my business in order to make it an easy transition and to bring people on.
And Patrick, what's your favorite part about coaching with Valerie?
I'd say there's a lot. And if I was going to narrow it down, Valerie pushes me to be better, which you may or may not know that, Valerie. So it holds me to the fire to make sure that we're not only hitting these goals, but we're surpassing these goals. And we're doing it without, lighting the house on fire. We're doing it without putting relationships at risk. We're doing it being able to have and Valerie, correct me if I'm wrong, we've had some very transparent conversations, and there's trust in that. And that's what has made us like this, because now there's not a conversation the two of us can't have or figure out a solution on an obstacle we can tackle. My question turns into, for Valerie, is, as not only from last year, but now going into this year, how do you deal with the chance of burnout, or how do you deal with that? And Shanna, we've talked about that even this past week, right? Like, it's
my number one conversation right now with anybody that I'm working with in this business. The number one conversation right now is burnout.
So how do you, Valerie, set yourself up and yourself, Bryce, let's start there, right? Like, let's start family first, and then the business. How do you, from a daily standpoint, be able to push past burnout or address it, or, create a moat around it?
I would say the biggest thing is just like what you said, is addressing it rather than pushing it back and pretending that you're not feeling burnout. And yeah, just taking it head on and saying, okay, I'm feeling burnout, and then figuring out why you feel that, what in your business is causing that burnout. And then adjusting there. Like sometimes it could be, oh, I feel burnout with clients. I feel burnout selling the same sort of house, month after month. Or I feel burnout with agents with making sure that they're okay, answering all of their questions. And so figuring out how you can make just a small change in that area to where it's a little bit different every day, because that's what I need. I can't do the same thing every day. I like repetition in my routine, but not in my business. I need that to change, and I need to see growth on a daily basis in order for me to not feel that burnout, stuck in a rut feeling.
Awesome.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. What's your, I'm just going to keep firing questions. What's your basic day look like? Like how you like routine?
Mhm.
Walk me through the routine of your day. You've got a lot of hats that you wear, walking, and soon to be more.
Yes, and routine is huge for me, and I've
Um,
always been a routine person, even since I was a kid. And Patrick and I talked about this a lot in the beginning of our calls. I grew up in a very military focused family. My dad was ex-military, so it was up at 6 a.m. every morning, would make breakfast. So as an adult, that transferred over into my life. So I get up at the same time every day. I work out every single day, whether it's 25 minutes or an hour. I just make sure that I always get some sort of movement in. I have my coffee and I read, and I don't touch my phone. And I always have to get up at least 2 hours before I have to be anywhere. Otherwise my day is just a mess. So I make sure to take time for me before getting on my phone. And then I make breakfast, get ready for the day. Usually I'm in the office by 7, but I've been getting a lot more sleep lately with being in just getting over that first trimester hump. And that's something too I've been working on with Patrick is time blocking, and really working on lead gen for the first couple of hours. And then the day, in real estate is messy with just different meetings and phone calls and dealing with clients. I am on the board for the Chamber of Commerce in Homer, so I have about every few weeks weekly meetings with them, so that's always in there. And then every afternoon, or I guess I should say 4 to 5 times a week, I run with my mom, so we make sure to make that a priority. And then if I don't go for a run, I take the dogs for a walk, and then Bryce and I have dinner together every single night. We cook dinner and make sure that we spend time off our phones, not talking about work. And then I am a decompressor. I have to decompress in the evenings. So I do watch like an hour of TV before bed every night. And then I'm typically in bed by 9:30, 10 every night.
Whoa. Like,
Yeah.
I love the routine, but what I love most about it is like you accomplish all those things in a typical work day, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And mornings are huge for
7
me.
to
That's
5
when
probably.
I operate in the morning. So earlier the better. Come 3, 4 o'clock, my brain is almost done for the day. And so it's easy for me to kind of sign off in the evenings just because I'm like, my brain it's not working.
I love the controlled chaos in your world.
Mhm.
I mean, we know it's chaos. Everybody's world is chaos, and you've got so many hats, and I love the controlled chaos.
That's
I love it.
But yeah, it is. Yeah, it's chaos, but it's controlled. Absolutely.
Well, and it's prioritized as well as controlled. And what I love about this is your priority. Number one went to yourself, your family, then the business kicked in, right? And how you have these, whether it's a run with your mom or walking the dogs, you kind of slid over it, yet you have dinner with Bryce every single night.
Yeah.
Phones off. Like, oh my goodness, if I could coach that to anyone watching this right now,
Right.
your life would change. Like, your life would change. How you approach each day would change, and you're doing it. So congratulations to you, because this is what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
It's not about how many
100%.
sales. It's about the impact you can make and the influence you can make and being the best person possible. And that's got to start here, and then go out.
Yeah.
Right. And it's interesting. I don't want to scoot past that came from your upbringing. Like you mentioned, that's how you grew up. And so that was the example set for you.
Yeah.
And you get to pass that on. I had this conversation with my daughter just the other day about, she's so busy. And I just said, life's always going to be busy. Like life is always going to be busy. Learning young what's important and what matters. That's key to your joy in life.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. And that's
it's
true.
interesting that you brought that up.
Yeah, life is always going to be busy. And I grew up with entrepreneurial parents. I mean, they worked a typical 8 to 5 job for part of my life. And then once we hit the teenage years, they had their own businesses. And so they are probably the busiest people I know. But they make so much time for family. And I mean, I can go over to their house, any time of the day, and they'll drop what they're doing, and spend an hour and just talk, and it's undivided. So, and that just goes to show that everything else can be happening in the world, but there's always time for family. And that's in those relationships, and that's what's most important. And that makes me a better agent for my clients and a better leader for my agents within my company. If I'm not spread too thin, and can focus on what's important to me, I can then show up for them.
Oh my gosh, if we could just encapsulate that, like that mentality and ability. Right, bottle it. Cool.
For those who are watching, Valerie, maybe they're at that spot that you were, 2 years ago, or maybe they have these incredible goals in front of them, but don't know how to get there, or, something along the lines. What would you say to them?
It sounds so cliche, but I would say just trust yourself and just do it. When we first did the life story, the breakdown, you knew that 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, I quit my job as a paralegal at a law firm. I was there for over 4 years, and I had no idea what was next for me. I had absolutely no idea. And I never envisioned that I would be here 2.5 years later, and this would be where I was at and what I was doing every day. But it was just small, it started with small opportunities that came forward, and I just had to jump on them and trust myself and trust that I could do it. And that just kind of snowballed into bigger opportunities, and it will just continue. So I just say, trust yourself and believe that you can do it.
Love that. Thank you.
So cool.
I know you like dropping mics here, so I'm like,
I know. Enough said. Awesome. So we're going to follow back up. I want to follow back up in, a year.
Yes.
And see a beautiful little baby on screen.
Yeah.
And you're just motivating. It's motivating to see that all this can happen. And so I want to keep this in front of our people as much as possible.
Yeah.
Anything else, Patrick?
No, you ran. That was awesome. Awesome.
Yep. Thank you for your time, Val.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Great. Take care. We'll talk to you later today.
Bye.